Hi y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Amber and today I'll be sharing with you what I've read. This week I was able to finish 2 books. The first book that I finished is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Steve Larson. This is the first book in the Millennium Trilogy. This one is about Mikhail, who at the start of the book is, I think you call it indictment. He was indicted for slander and he is trying to figure out what he's going to do while he repairs the damage for his career. When he gets a job offer from a man named Henry Finger, whose granddaughter disappeared 40 years ago. He realizes that he's at the end of his life and he just wants one more chance to figure out what happened to Harriet. This is a reread. I was planning to reread this so I could finish the last 2 books. And funnily enough, this book was a huge disappointment this time around. I don't know if it was because of how young I was when I read this, but when I did first read it, I remember really enjoying it, but this time around, I saw a lot of the mistakes, a lot of the issues that made this book quite unenjoyable for me this time around. The first thing about this book is the writing was kind of bland. I also felt like he over-explained, over-detailed things, and what I mean by that is that the first, whole 20 pages, I feel, was all about what happened to him in the investigation and of his indictment, and he just goes in such minute detail about it, and I feel like it could have been dealt with in a page or 2. I don't feel like he really needed to go into that much detail about it, or he could have just easily put the information throughout the book. I just feel like he info dumped, and he does that a lot throughout the book, and a lot of the times when he's info dumping like that, I feel like it has nothing really to do with the actual investigation story. Doesn't really take the story anywhere, so I just found it really frustrating, and it just made the book that much more boring. One of the other issues was that Mikhail himself was quite boring. I didn't really like him, and Elizabeth, who is the most interesting character of all in this book, we barely get her in the first half. And the most frustrating of all about this book is that I got halfway through the book and the story hadn't even started. I still felt like we were in the introduction, and that just kind of bothered me and annoyed me to the point that I really just couldn't take reading it anymore. So in the end, I gave this 2 stars. The next book that I finished is Emily of New Moon by Ellen Montgomery. This is the first book in the Emily trilogy. And of course, this book is about Emily Starr, whose father passes away from consumption, and she finds out about her mother's family that was never talked about, and she ends up going to live with them. As you all may know, I absolutely loved the Anna Green Gables series. I especially loved her writing in that book. When it came to the Anna Green Gables books, I always felt like the writing always seemed accessible to not only children, but to adults. I loved the fact that it always keeps me falling in love with it again. I never once felt like I was reading a children's book. People have said the same thing about the Harry Potter books, where they felt like anybody, no matter what your age, could read it and enjoy it, and that's the way I felt about the Anna Green Gables series. But with Emily of New Moon, I felt that this is definitely a book meant for 11 to 13-year-olds, and that definitely affected my ability to enjoy this book. I say that this is a book that 11 to 13-year-olds will definitely enjoy. Great starting point, I think, for somebody who is just entering into reading. This is a great place for them. I just think that because of my age and because I was expecting the same kind of writing from her as I got from Anna Green Gables, it was hard for me to enjoy it. Anyway, this one gets 3 stars. And I will definitely be finishing the trilogy because, like I think I mentioned, I am planning to read all of her stuff. So either way, I really want to just finish this up and just see where Emily goes. Now on to what I will be reading next week. I'm currently reading Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I've been working through this throughout the past week. I've been going very slow. I just wanted to kind of get a good feel of the book before I actually try to delve into it all the way, and I think I've gotten to that point where I get the feel of her pacing, her writing style, and the story itself. So now I'm just going to go and focus on this completely. I am about halfway through, so I should be able to finish this midweek, hopefully. And if I do finish this before my next roundup, I'll be reading Winter's Tale by Mark Halperin. This is a complicated story. I don't know how to describe it, so I'm not going to try. But there is a film that was made from this, and I didn't realize that when I watched the trailer, but the trailer looked so wonderful. I'm very excited to watch the film once I finish this. But I didn't realize it until I got to Barnes & Noble one day and I found it. I didn't buy it from there. There was no way I was going to buy a $20 to $30 book like that. So I was lucky enough to find it at my library bookstore and I picked it up. So now I'm finally getting to this because I definitely think this story is very intriguing, and I definitely don't think I will finish it this next week, but I probably will finish it in the coming week after. So hopefully I will enjoy it as much as I'm expecting it. That is it from me. Tell me down below what you all been reading. Thank you all so much for watching and keep smiling.